Life's a funny thing. Some of us are dealt some pretty cruddy cards, and then we're expected to just grow up, normal. That leaves a lot of us to struggle as we navigate through life's difficult times. And if you're anything like me, you have no idea what the hell normal is. Welcome to the Wishbone Podcast with me, your host, Luke Ohana, as we discuss and share our life stories in hopes of helping each other out. So if you got 30 minutes, let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Wishbone Podcast. My name is Luca, and I'm your host today. Today's episode, we got a very special guest, my nephew. His name is Eric, and I'm so excited to have him on here. We're going to be talking about some cool stuff, and without further ado, let's introduce Eric.
I'm Eric. I'm Luke's nephew. Today we're going to be covering being a chameleon kid and masking through our childhood, as well as the long-term effects and how that feels, and go through that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super, super interesting episode. I'm super excited to have you on here because as you have grown up, I've known you since you're before you were born practically, and you were my first kid, and so it's very exciting to see you go through all the life stages, and then now that you're an adult, to kind of talk and reminisce on our family, and of course the tribulations that our family has gone through, like any other family. But it's cool to have this intimate perspective with you on this type of thing. So before we get into like the nitty gritty, what would you consider yourself? What generation are you?
I'm considers myself Gen Z. I'm like right in the middle there.
Gen Z, okay.
So the odd part is lot often in my generation's raised by Gen X, though I was actually raised by millennial, you guys.
All right, on, okay. And do you feel like there'd be a major difference between millennials and Gen Z? Or Gen X, rather, sorry.
Millennials and Gen X, definitely. Between, like, you guys had it a lot more similar to us, I believe. Just a lot less likelihood of a positive future. A lot more delayed, like, with retirement and a lot of other things, housing. I think Gen Z and millennials get along pretty well, though.
Okay.
There's like a thinner line between Gen Z and millennials than Gen X.
And then you were born and raised in Utah, and that can't. I mean, lately it's been pretty accepting of a lot of different things, but of course it has a pretty religious backbone to it. Did you notice that growing up?
I didn't actually notice it. I noticed a lot more like when the first few times I left the state, like it was a big culture shock seeing like alcohol in gas stations, how other people would act. Seeing like other versions of like the ghetto or like fancy areas. I believe that the religious culture here has actually like, kept this a bit more safe, I guess. Nurturing almost.
Yeah, it's definitely sheltered, I would say, for sure. And I think with that sheltering, there's good and bad. But Utah is a great place. I definitely enjoyed the positive parts of it, of course. But I'm ignorant, so I don't know too many other places besides Hawaii where people raise people. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So last week's question, I'm going to have you answer it if you don't mind. It was, what's one incident from your childhood that would sum up the negative parts of your childhood, and what's one incident that would sum up the positive, to round out in two simple questions your childhood?
I've actually got an answer for both. A moment that really intensified the positivity and negativity in my childhood is actually when my stepdad Roy moved in. That was the first time I got a stable father figure that was actually positive in my life. That was consistent. But that came with a lot of change. I got 2 new siblings, but it came with a lot of I can't think of the word. A lot of issues at times. Just learning to communicate with each other, learning to respect boundaries, learning to accept them. There were a lot of arguments growing up, but we learned to live with them. We learned how to get past them. So I would think like that was both the best and like highest highs and lowest lows in my childhood.
Do you have a specific negative incident in your mind that would round up your childhood?
Ooh, I think a big one are majority of the holidays, as that was a consistent time of the year my parents would be stressed and argue. There were a few times like when things were thrown, some people were jumped on, things were knocked off. A few pretty traumatizing moments, I think, but it helped us grow together almost. Like we used each other to mend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say the relationship you three have is pretty remarkable to see. Just knowing where my sister started and kind of where she is now, she's definitely a lot more open to weaknesses on her part or open to shortfalls that she may have that she's struggling with, and she's embraced it. It seems like, and I mean, I know she was very, very controlling growing up,
Yeah.
um, and I feel like that's definitely waned off. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think after my siblings moved out is when she started to realize she needed to grow at a bit of a faster pace. It definitely took a lot of time, and I'm proud of her growth.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
after
for sure. Yeah.
realizing moments that she lost and mistakes we've all made, she started learning to respect boundaries, and I started learning how to set them and realizing, hey, I don't like that. Maybe I
Yeah.
could
No,
do this
I
some other
will.
way.
Yeah, and I will say I do take a lot of notes from you. To be honest, Eric, you're very good at vocalizing what is comfortable for you, and that's a remarkable thing. I think not too many people can do that comfortably, and you do it well. So that's where I get a lot of my inspiration for this future generation of ours is people like you. Honestly, you got a tremendous ability to do that. I think there's a taboo with my generation. We should just grunt it and bear it and whatever. But I feel like we're in a much better place. But with that being said, how do you feel like you're faring day to day right now? A man in his 20s who's just starting out in life as a young bloke, as such as yourself.
Pretty positive, but again, that's like thanks to people like you who helped raise me, you and my parents. They're paving the way a lot
Oh,
more than
all
other
right on.
generations that have, in my opinion. Um,
Okay,
but overall, good. There are parts like where other generations could try and help more, though. Being
sure.
in my 20s and starting out, there's a lot of things that could be harder or both easier. But I'm trying to take the good with the bad, and it's been easier to be positive lately.
Let's slow down a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's have you introduce
Yeah.
yourself and your childhood and what you remember as far as growing up, and bring us to today.
Um. So I would say about I think of the age of 8 is when I started remembering a lot. Uh, Throughout my childhood, I was raised by many different people. My mom needed a
Okay.
lot of help. She was a single mother starting at 19. My father had taken uh, himself and his stepdaughter, as well as his current girlfriend slash wife, to Texas. So at the time, it was a bit hard to find
Mm-hmm.
a father figure. Fortunately, people like you stepped in and filled that role. I remember being watched by my tia, Abuelita, and a woman named Esma. They all helped raise me a ton
Mm-hmm.
until I could get into school. And then after I could finally get into school, I was taught to kind of take care of myself, learn to eat, dress, clothe myself, uh, get on the bus on time, wake up on time, do homework, and get to school. Um, Around fourth
Right.
grade is when like a huge splash happened. That's when my stepdad Roy and my two siblings Nicholas and Maddie moved in, and that's when we were learning our new dynamic. At first, they just started as friends, like, "Oh, what's going on? Hi, you're here." But over time, I learned, "Oh, you're my brother. I love you. Oh, you're my sister. I love you. Oh, this is odd. I've never had a parental father figure this often and this healthy." Um, no harm towards you. You still had your own life. You were actually the first
Oh yeah.
father figure I had, and you definitely helped fill some gaps during my early childhood. Um,
Oh, right on. Right on. Nice.
but yeah, after they moved in, we learned to coexist a bit. There were still storms within our family. Um, I remember two big moves. Those were a big help. When they first moved in, we were all sharing a room, Nicholas, Maddie, and I. And then we moved to another apartment complex where Nicholas and I shared a room. Maddie had her own, and her parents actually slept in the living room. They had a curtain that like blocked it off. So
That's
we
right.
were very intimate. And something common in Utah is you'd have like a 5 bedroom, two and a half or bathroom. Like there's rarely enough bathrooms for all the rooms. So we learned to like learn each other's
Yeah. Right.
schedules pretty well. Um, During a while there, my mom was
That's
like
well put.
consistently working like 40 to 60 hour weeks, and like we would hardly see her. And Roy definitely stepped in often. He would work while we were at school, and when we got off, he would always be home with a snack. Um,
Mm-hmm.
during my childhood a lot. I never meant to though. I didn't know my own strength and often caused my own hurricanes by accidentally hurting Nicholas, my little brother. Uh,
Mm.
Rarely intentional. At times every kid has their temper. I used to have one. Um, but that would also lead me to learn to lie and like hide like parts of myself so I wouldn't get exposed. Because Roy was one of the first like even-tempered parental figures I had. Like as you know, I was raised by partially your mother, my abuelita Maria, who Len was always in the picture. Like
Hmm.
I never got any hate from him, but I always had that aura around him. Like just keep your distance. Like I always feared it would be like you do something wrong, you're gonna
Yeah.
get it. And I think that kind of stuck with me through my childhood. So
Hmm.
I they were bad lies, and they were badly covered. But I just kept trying to cover my tracks. I would often lie to Roy. Fortunately, our relationship's grown. I learned I could be honest with him. I learned how calm and kind he is. Um, Often storms, like whenever my mom did have a day off, she would have at the time a lot more patience for friends than she would for her own family at times. Like whenever she got home, she would
Hmm.
pretty grumpy at times. Uh, I would only show my positives. Like, nope, you're not bothering me. I'm happy. I can rub it off on you. I can rub it off on you, and I can keep everyone happy.
Hmm.
And after a while, I learned you can't make everyone happy. That was a big part of learning. Like, I shouldn't be masking as often. It's okay to show your emotions. Um,
When did you start doing that, do you think?
Learning not to or learning to mask. I mean,
Learning to be more open and free.
um, I would say actually right after puberty, to be honest. I would say around seventh or eighth grade, I started being more outgoing. I think I started
Okay.
being a little bit more open. I was grumpy at times and
Nice.
thought, I'm not going to hide this back. I'm going to try and show more of my colors. Um, and
I
that was a
love it.
lot of the
Okay.
times I would actually step up to my mom and I would wrongly set them, but wrongly set uh, boundaries and try and like make her
Okay.
realize her errors when that wasn't my place.
Mm. And I would disagree a little bit or give you a little bit of pushback. I think it is your place, but I understand where you're coming from. And the only reason I say that is I think the feedback from a child is critical as a parent. I understand that you have this, that you're trying to toe the line, so you're not being disrespectful, and I totally get that. So, um, talk to me about because we know that Maddie and Nicholas unfortunately moved out of the house and moved back in with their mom due to some bad information, more than likely. But how was that transition for you guys?
That was heavy on me at the time. They were actually warning me like a month or two prior, like we're gonna be moving to our mom soon. We're gonna be moving to our mom's. Like, yeah, right. No, they're not.
Oh
Like,
wow.
because I only heard nasty stories about their mom. I didn't know them. What I did know was left Roy in a pretty bad situation. Like, who would leave Roy? He's great at the
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I do partially blame myself on not listen. Like, I definitely am responsible for not listening and like saying like, "Hey, why do you feel like you need to leave?" I should have been more open. But at the same time, I think I could
Oh, I
have
see.
shielded them from some of the storms caused by our parents. But at the same time, I was a kid too, so
Mm.
I was trying to shield myself as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
that
have
was like,
hope that you guys are going to come back?
yes. I'm actually planning on. I've been trying to reach out to them more often. I've been trying to make plans. I did do so during COVID. However, at the time, uh, I did so against my mom's wishes. Actually, she didn't want me to. Like, she said I was fine to visit them with Roy and to talk to them, but she didn't want me to meet them alone. I always met Nicholas alone. I would pick him up. I would drive around the valley. Uh, but after she found that out, she was not happy with that. She said you can only see them with
Mm.
Roy, but fortunately
Interesting.
that's backed up a bit. Um, that level of anger is hard to like try and understand and set those boundaries with because the anger she had would just bulldoze past them. But I do understand her reasoning.
Yeah, for sure. I
She
sense
was
that
just
too when I talk
worried
to her.
due to Nicholas still being a minor and being under the
Oh,
what's the word
okay.
being under the custody of his mother.
Sure. Yeah. And you guys talk, you, Maddie, and Nicholas?
Maddie and I
Today?
not so much.
As
I've
of
been meaning
today?
to reach out. As of today, me and Nicholas are
Okay.
on talking terms. We still talk. I need to reach out to Maddie. I miss her.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I do miss those kids for sure. Um, okay, so you were saying, yeah, just how that transition was for you.
I was in the middle of sophomore year. It was a pretty big one. At the time after we heard they were going to be staying there, a million things were going through my mind. Am I going to lose my stepdad? I don't want to be
Oh wow.
on the other side of stealing somebody's father. Stealing's a strong word. I'm going to say borrowing for
Mm,
the time being.
interesting. Yeah.
Somebody was borrowing Jason for from me for a while. For those who don't know, Jason's my biological father.
mm,
And throughout my childhood, I did have a bit of jealousy and hurt towards that. Though I've learned to just be thankful for what I do have and not reminisce on what I don't. But
mm-hmm,
after I lost
mm-hmm.
them, that was a big, that was a big change. I do believe I was actually a bit depressed, but at the same time, the depression my stepdad and my mom had were leagues larger than mine, and I just try to stay out of trouble and get what I
Mm.
could done, just get school done, and just try and stay out of their way, and like let the embers cool down before I reach out back to them, which I did like 3 years
Yeah,
later.
real quick, I'm gonna just do a little segue here.
Yeah,
If any of you who do meet Eric, or any of you who have met Eric, all the feedback I've ever received about you, boy, is how incredibly respectful you are, almost to a fault, in the sense that I think you put yourself aside for others. Like that's your default. Like you're always gonna make sure someone else is feeling comfortable or whatever. So hopefully that kind of helps paint the picture of who you are. You're just this kind of great, amazing, respectful dude. Like I said, to a fault, like we all have faults, but I think sometimes it's good that it's been great to see you actually put boundaries for yourself first. It's a real beautiful thing to see. Um, did you have anything else to say about that transition?
um, not particularly. I just wanted to make sure everything was cool before, like the calm after the storm, to reach out, which led to another storm, but we weathered
Wow.
that as well. We'll always weather them.
What storm was that?
After my mom found out I was hanging out with Nicholas alone
Oh, right. I got you. Okay.
after reaching out.
And real quick about your parents. Uh, we all know I love my sister to death. I think her and I are the closest out of the bunch. Um, I do wish Thea Yessie and I were closer, but I know she's struggling with a lot of things, and it's not that we're not close. It's just that she's one to take her issues on her own, and which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but sis, I love you to death. If you need me, I'm here. Anyway, but Roy, I don't think I give enough credit to Roy. I don't think I've talked too much about Roy, but Roy, real quick, let's paint a picture. Roy is this incredibly stoic, lovable guy. My sister Yessie calls him Charmin because he's just so soft and squeezable. He is
Yeah,
really the one of the best men I know. He's incredible. When I say stoic, he shattered his ankle and pretty much
yeah,
walked into the hospital. Everyone's like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I shattered my ankle." They thought it was a joke because he said it so matter of factly, and sure enough, it was it was shattered. The guy is incredible. I've never seen him wince in pain ever, and he's in tremendous amount of pain a lot of the
yeah,
day. He's got some physical disabilities for sure from
yeah.
some
His discs are
injuries.
slowly hardening.
So, but what is it?
Yeah, like sorry. Some of his discs are hardening. Before she was born with type 2 diabetes,
Oh
he
my
has a lot of
gosh.
health issues, but he still walks through them like it's nothing. He learns to live with it.
Oh, he's a champ. Yeah,
Yeah.
he'd be the type of guy that if you're on a 50-mile hike, you'd have no idea he hated the hike because his tibia was broken and he shattered his arm and he had a fever. He would just make it through and say everything's great. He's just an incredible guy. I do feel, me personally, incredibly blessed that he came into our lives, my sister's life, and your life, and I can't say enough about him. I will say that he actually was a child classmate of my sister, and that's kind of how the relationship from there started. His mom was actually our third grade teacher growing up,
uh,
which is
Guadalupe,
pretty
right?
funny. So we are pretty close. At Guadalupe, that's right. Yeah, very very interesting. Um, do you want to touch on Roy and kind of what he means to you and what he is to you, I think that'd be good.
He's the second longest lasting father figure I've had, aside from you. Uh, he's everything I wanted to grow up to be. He's a
Mm.
great gentleman. He's kind. He's smart. He's
Oh
talented
yeah,
at like everything he does. Everybody can say so much good about him. If you don't like Roy, you've got some hidden demons.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Something's wrong with you. Roy is even my mom came around, and my
and that's
mom
crazy.
was
Yeah,
dedicated or determined at the idea of hating Roy. Yeah,
very stubborn
but
at
he
times.
eventually even wore that rock down, and that's a rock I didn't think could get weathered at all. My mom was very stubborn, but yeah, Roy, you're an incredible dude, and I definitely see his influence on you, Eric. And I think the fact that you guys weathered our childhood and came out to be it's I can't say this enough. It's always a blessing to see you guys together because you guys are exactly what I want in my kids. I love talking to you, and I love the idea that you and your mom talk about a lot of stuff. Um, Now, we're going to get into something a little sensitive here, so if you want me to cut it,
Yeah.
I'll cut it out for sure. But I want to talk to you about coming out to your mom and how that was because there's some parallels there between my mom's views on homosexuality or queerness and
Mhm.
my sister's views on that, and then that's the evolution paralleled my mom's as well. So, how was it coming out, and what did you think was going to happen as far as worst case scenario, and then what happened?
So something I got from your mother is stubbornness. Um, I came out very casually. We were at Vegas for my 19th birthday and Diana's birthday as well. We were all just having dinner in the backyard of the Airbnb we were renting, and I was like, I think I'm bi. And the reason I just said that is so I can get aggressive at times. So this is one of the aggressive moments. Like, if you don't accept me, I'm leaving you for life. In those 19 years, you suffered for nothing. Accept me or don't, kind of a thing. Like, I know that's unhealthy,
Is that what
but
you said? You laid it out that way?
I didn't lay it out that way. But if I had gotten a negative tone, it would have been like, I'm ready to. I don't want you in my life if you're gonna be like that. I'm
Oh,
sorry if you're
okay.
uneducated. And like I was
Wow.
ready.
Okay, I didn't
That
know
was
that.
the response I was ready for. Abuelita. I was like, what's another 20 years? We'll go get another grandkid.
Okay.
Is it gonna be that big of a deal?
Oh, you came out to abuela.
I actually don't think I did ever, but if I did, that's how I would have said it. I love my Abuelita. It would have been
Oh, I
needed to be
see.
straight to the point.
I got you.
But I wasn't too worried. My sister Maddie was already pan, and I think they knew that.
Yeah.
And my mom's sister
Okay.
was already with
Now,
Diana, so
well, yeah, which is funny. So I wanted to touch on those two notes. So, you said that that your sister came out as pan. What is that?
that's when you love the personality more than the physical body. Doesn't matter what tools you have, you'll enjoy them. You could be asexual, you could be, or
Oh
sorry,
wow.
you could be non-binary, trans,
Oh
etc. It
wow.
doesn't
Okay.
matter. I'm similar. I just don't. Basically, just bisexual.
That's a beautiful
Just
thought.
need a. Yeah.
And then of course Tia Yesi, my sister, who I love to death, was in a freaking terrible relationship. Horrible. I mean, I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
Whatever, they work together, but she met her partner now, and she refuses to talk about it. So we love
Yeah.
you,
The moment.
Yessie. We accept you, and yeah, whatever you're going through, we're here with you. But I do think it's interesting because it seems like growing up, my mom was very homophobic. Not as much as my dad,
Yeah.
but definitely against it. My sister Nicole, who
Mm.
hadn't transitioned yet, she was gay at the time. At least that's how she was presenting. She was called Lulu to make fun of her over this kind of Mexican feministic character, and it was meant to be a put down. But that quickly changed though. Once I found out my mom was like, be who you are. At the time, I think my sister's name was Mimi. She's like, be who you are, Mimi. We love you. Just do good. That's all my mom cared about. Is just do good, and that was pretty cool to see. So anyway, you come out to your mom in Vegas. How was the reaction?
Okay. So My mom was sitting next to me on the left, and Roy was on the left of her, and Thea and Diana were across from us. I said, I might be bi, and Thea's like, oh, I'm so effed. I'm in trouble. I'm so screwed. I was like, and I turned to my mom. She better not be in trouble. And like, why would that get her in trouble? Like, no, Thea, that's fine. I remember. So the
Right,
first time
yeah.
I heard Thea out of the closet was from Leonard and Abuelita. They were saying she's on something and she's with a woman. I was like, oh, okay. Shrug. We all need to release some
She's
time
on
with the
something.
the on something. I was like, hope it's not hard. And she's with a woman. Like, does that mean she's leaving Armando?
Yeah.
I didn't say that out loud. Like, oh, okay, and then walked away. The first time I saw it in person, I was like so excited. Like, my Thea has a girlfriend. My Thea has a girlfriend. Hi, I'm Eric. Good to meet you. You're welcome here. If my mom's using any crap, I'm here. Like, just for like,
Yeah,
I was just a little excited. Sorry to adjust real quick.
I remember we went out to dinner and I saw her with Diana, and she had been going through this very long period of just being depressed. Like, it was really hard to watch my sister struggle, and I might get teary eyed now, but that was the first time I saw her smiling and being happy, and that blew me away. And she, for some reason, has this phobia of my opinion on her, but it's always been the super positive thing. And so she was nervous to tell me that she had a girlfriend, and I was ecstatic to see her happy. And so it was a very cool moment, and we hugged and embraced, and then I called her stupid for thinking that she was going to be in trouble with me. The hell, sis. But I'm very happy to see her this way. And it's been, it's since every relationship has issues, but it's been troublesome to see her go up and down and traverse life as it is. But you do that with anybody you care about, right? I'm not trying to tell her what the answer is. I have no idea what the answer is. It's just hard to see her struggle, is my point. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so you come out, and it's overwhelmingly pretty positive, correct?
Yeah, fortunately, I knew Roy wouldn't care. He's like, be happy. Diane would be like, oh, okay. At the end, and Mom are the reactions are
Yeah.
like, what's the wild card gonna be this time? I just said it up front. Like, I might be. Honestly, I'm considering
And
things. I don't know.
did Roy know already?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I was pretty fruity growing up, I guess. Like, doing the way like I would sing, like the bands I would
I
like
just
and stuff.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it wouldn't surprise me if you had told Roy prior to that, because you guys are very close, and it seems
Yeah.
like you are always kind of braving the waters with him, kind of directing. Or let's say this: it seems like you always are confiding in him first, which is great. I love that.
Yes. So, okay, it gets on my mom's nerves often. But me and Roy have something where he'll tell me downright. He'll tell me like face value, don't beat around the bush, like just like honest opinion whenever I ask something or tell him something. But whenever my mom's around and he'll like just tell me the harsh truth, it kind of gets upset, like she's trying to protect me, which I understand, like having the childhood you guys grew up with. And something I did want to go back
Yeah,
on.
I do.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead. I would love to hear it.
a minute ago you were just saying like Thea having a depressive streak. That just made me think like growing up, whenever being watched by her, she would always have waves of depression.
Oh, interesting.
Like I remember one of the first like and longest streaks of not being depressed was when she started going to the gym, and like a few months later when she had the business started going. I think a
Hmm.
little bit after the business started is when she started ending that positive phase. It just kept going up and down, and it would always depend like on Aulita's health or uh,
Sure.
like Armando's actings and stuff, and like the business itself. Like
Hmm.
it always depend. Like I remember seeing Thea sad a lot during my childhood, but still loving.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good. Yeah, yeah. It was tough to see that.
sorry to change
Yeah.
topics to topics, but Roy would always give me the face value of things whenever I needed to. Like he's the one I go to when I need a straight answer.
Yeah, he's amazing, and his feedback is always it's critical, but it's always positive, and I like that. I really, really enjoy that kind of direct communication, for sure. I will say that it is always interesting to see how defensive my sister is, or let me put it this way: my sister still has walls up, even with Roy, her husband, the love of her life, she adores Roy. I mean, we all know it. But it's funny when it comes to you, Eric. If something is said a certain way or she takes it a certain way sideways, she's very quick to defend you,
Yep.
and there's no judgment there. It's just interesting to see that the walls are still there, like she's still primed and ready for that kind of defense, and
Yeah.
I definitely think she gets that from abuela
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah.
Uh, I think about
Okay.
it. Maybe I'm reading. Oh,
So
go ahead.
you come out at 19. Oh, good.
No, go ahead.
No, no, go,
Come
go.
at 19. I think another part of her being defensive is like her wanting to be a little bit more defended when she was little, or like after I assumed her defending you and Thea a
Yeah,
bit.
I could see that for sure. I mean, I don't know exactly. Yeah, the only reason I'm hesitating here is I'm not sure. She's not here, so I don't want to pause too much, but I will say I think she definitely wasn't heard and wasn't valued. Her opinion wasn't valued. I mean, we were told to be quiet most of the time, shut up and just do our chores, and my sister definitely had some objections that should have been heard and should have been valued, and they weren't. And I definitely know that was had left a lasting impression on her and her self worth. And it's nice to see that she finally has a circle that supports her self worth, and she's actually able to see it and all that. So, yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so here we are. You've been out for a few years now. I don't want to comment on it too much. You can, but you've met someone recently, and I hope it works out well. I'm excited to meet that person, and I just don't want to jinx it. Is why I don't. We can totally get into it if you want, but it's still relatively new, right?
Yeah, we're about actually tomorrow's gonna be our 6 month anniversary from when we first met.
Hey,
Uh,
happy anniversary!
so
That's awesome. Oh,
still
from when you
going
first met,
strong.
though.
Yeah, like our first date.
Okay.
So
Oh,
things are
okay,
still
gotcha.
going strong. Uh, Learning boundaries, learning communication. It's all been easy. We share a lot of the same hobbies, interests, uh, opinions. We're feeling pretty strong. I think the honeymoon phase has ended a bit, but I still just adore him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this: have you guys had a fight yet,
Not yet, and that's the thing.
or
So
quarreled,
we haven't fought or quarreled yet. Um, so I've been told is there's
really?
no such thing
You
as a
can
healthy
keep your hands off his
relationship.
stuff. Just kidding.
So I've been told a relationship without arguments is unhealthy, but I've met multiple people where that like they've had like
Yeah.
relationships for decades and haven't argued. So I'm still willing to see, but I think our arguments are going to be pretty
I
tame. We're both open to listen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think arguing is essential for a healthy relationship, healthy communication. However, it doesn't have to be this very dramatic thing. You guys could already be navigating the conflict just super mellow. Like it just never raises above a 1 decibel. So hats
Yeah,
off to you if you can keep that up. We'll get into kind of the demons that you feel like you face here in a little bit, but it is. I'm hoping the best for you guys. Now, my personal belief is you should date a ton. We've talked about this, you and I.
yeah,
And if you don't, you don't.
yeah.
If you and this person end up going long term, hey, then that's the whole point, I guess. If that's what makes you happy. But my belief on dating is date often, date a lot, be safe, but you get to know who you are, what you want, and all that. But not to say I don't support you 100% in this relationship. So,
That's fair.
just putting that out there. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so growing up was difficult because you were raised by all these people, and that's kind of going to be our segue into the
Yes.
topic of today's show, which is a chameleon kid. So, can you tell me what is a chameleon kid in your opinion? And while you're doing that, I'm going to look up the definition of chameleon kid.
Sounds good. So, in my opinion, being a chameleon kid is showing the right colors to who want to see it. Like,
Oh,
as an
I love
example,
that.
you like I'll show you my adventurous and happy side, and I'll show her my sad, calm, and quiet side, and just a little bit of humor here and there.
Okay.
And there are certain people like you don't have to hide it all from. Like you're just relaxing, like whatever colors they see, and just like you let So
Who
certain
did you
people
feel
see.
like you had that? Who do you feel like you had that openness with, or when was the first person you
Um,
felt open with to not be a chameleon?
I think the first person was probably. Oh, that's difficult. I'd say anybody away from family, to be honest. I think it started with family. Like Aulita, I always had to have like a certain attitude
Okay.
and mode towards. Like I had to have certain manners, and I took that as certain ways to act or colors to be shown, I guess. Um,
Okay.
I think
Wow.
Thea over the years is the first one to see like majority of my colors all at once. Um, I
Really?
think yeah, Thea and Roy were the first ones to see all my colors at once.
I I love that. Okay.
Uh, I'm trying to think. But I think I still mask a little bit at times, or sorry, being a chameleon kid, I'm just gonna use the word masking as like acting as. I think I do mask a bit
Sure.
here
Yeah.
and there. Like there are still like certain sides that need to be tamed a bit, or certain sides that could have like more emphasis, like depending on who I'm with. Like I need to be more of an
Okay.
extrovert with uh, my parents whenever we're around about, or I can be more of an introvert at work. But whenever I'm like behind closed doors with my friends, I'm just me.
Um, just real quick, I had a friend who said we should definitely bring in some scientific notation on this. So, chameleon kids, from just this little reading I just did, it's we're not doctors. We haven't been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder or anything like that. However, chameleon personality can be a symptom or a diagnosis of BPD, or bipolar personality disorder.
Hmm.
But I will say that there's definitely a lot of attributes that we displayed. At least I'll speak for myself, that I displayed growing up, and we can get into that here in a little bit. But because we did have a very multi faceted home where we had to be certain things in front of certain people, otherwise, issues happen. And I think it's just natural for kids to navigate their world that way. So, just putting that out there as a tangent, or as a what's the word? As a caveat. There you go. As a caveat, I'm putting that out there. So that's very cool to hear that you felt comfortable with Thea and with Roy first. Those two people make a lot of sense. Absolutely. Um, just to be selfish a little bit, what did you feel like you had to be with me more so than just adventurous? Do you feel like you were restrained in any way in how you behaved?
A
How
little
did I
bit.
come across? Just, yeah, as a total selfish interest.
It was a little less you and me. I was worried that, oh no, if he sees certain sites, he's gonna leave like the other guy did too, as in my father. There were certain men I had to be careful with. Like,
Do you
when did
think
I
you
have to be
thought that
careful
about
at
me?
all? A little bit. Just me. Like that, at the time, that was just me overthinking and thinking
Oh,
like
interesting.
X, Y equals Z. Oh wait, I'm actually adding A and B to make Z, kind of
Sure,
thing. Like at the time, like now I know I could have shown you any colors and you would have
sure.
accepted me. But yeah. Um.
Yeah,
But
for sure. But that's
yeah.
very interesting to know, and I appreciate you telling me
Yeah, for sure. I think nowadays, compared to some others, you
that.
see like my modern colors like more often than a lot of others. Like you open me up like that. Like
Very cool.
you have a way of like just relaxing me, like putting me at ease.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah. You definitely are navigating your childhood, trying to be all these things that you think you need to be, and to me that would be not necessarily a personality trait, but just your way of surviving growing up. Because I think people who have this ability definitely read the room, are much more sensitive to the temperature of the room, if you will,
Mhm.
how the atmosphere is. Just to bring it about me real quick. Growing up, I felt like I had to speak a certain way when I was around my mom. Growing up with my friends, I had to speak a certain way. I could not translate either of those around my dad. I had to be a very certain way. And then around all my siblings, with my younger sister, I had to be what I thought was the dictator, and hey, this is how it's going to be because I need to protect you. And then I needed to navigate with my sister Adili and Yessie, and oh man. So I definitely see how that happened, for sure. And then, so with you, what were the main, I guess the main you weren't playing a role, but main roles you played in these different scenarios, right? Because you were with me, you were with Thea, you were with
Mhm.
Abuela. What were the differences there?
With mom and Elita, they were pretty similar at times. I think it was a little bit more relaxed with mom, but I had to be the polite little boy who was raised right, like, oh, he's one of the good ones. Or like I would just sit there quiet,
Yeah.
like twiddling my thumbs, keep myself occupied. Uh,
Right.
though whenever we were home, I kind of didn't have to act away. Uh, between the two of those, Aurita, I think, in a way, like made me show her more colors through a lot of gift giving. Her love language was definitely gift giving and acts of service for me. But um,
Hmm.
something that was hard to do between certain people was like translate the roles. Like between Leonard, I just had to be basically I had to act like a teenager. Uh, Chips are cool, fart, burp,
Hmm.
etc. Be this and that and funny. Or between you, I just had to be okay. I got to be somebody he wants to be around. I got to match his energy and be cool. Because I always loved being around you. Like I'm getting a little emotional too. Certain people were easier to mask for than others, and like some got easier over time depending on like how often I was around them. So I think whenever like after you moved to Hawaii, I think whenever you did come back, it was like hard to remember what role I had to roll. So I'm gonna try and mix it up and be
Yeah.
like I'm around mom all the time, so I'll be a little bit like her, but I'm also gonna be like you. And like that was like some of the
Oh
first
wow.
times I had
Okay.
to learn to like blend them, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Wow. Yeah. And when do you feel like this ability to kind of match your surrounding was intentional? It stopped being,
Ooh,
instinctual and started to be, you started to use it to your advantage or whatever the case may be.
I think it's when I started having like birthday with friends over, or uh, like just whenever two completely
Oh wow.
opposite worlds
Okay.
met, like family and friends meeting. Like even now that shakes me up a little bit, even though I don't have to act. Like just I gotta make it so they both recognize and know me, but that's gonna be difficult because they're like completely different people around them sometimes, or like different jokes, different
Oh,
sense of
interesting. Okay.
humor, different um, what's the word? Tendencies, I guess.
Sure. Wow. I'm really digging this conversation, especially since it's with you, babe. But so let's dig into Leonard a little bit. So Leonard's my younger brother. He and I are at odds with each other right now.
You know.
You know, but I, he was the youngest of the five of us growing up, and he definitely was our baby. Like we definitely pampered that boy. Um, and so I had my loving and endearing memories of him. But it's always good to hear your side because I know you guys were very, very close. And unfortunately, like a lot of relationships with Leonard, they kind of burned out. Hopefully, they kind of remend, but they burned out. So prior to that, how you guys were very, very close, and I always love hearing about this. So, what was it about him that was, very positive for you, or something that you enjoyed so much?
I think it was just the fact he was my first like I know he was my uncle, but at the same time he was my first best friend. He felt more of like a brother than a cousin to me or an uncle to me.
Oh
Like
wow,
he was the one who introduced me to video
yeah,
games, to certain animes, to a childhood. Honestly, like my mom, they all did their best.
uh,
Like I still had a I had a good childhood, but I couldn't be a kid, I guess, without him. Like he was the one introducing
uh,
me to so many of my like actually current interests still. Just the time we hung out, and it kept growing. Like my first few all nighters with him, he would share snacks with me. He made me feel safe from everyone for a bit. Like your father, a little bit of Aulita. Like she didn't make me feel worried or endangered.
mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit uneasy at times, but I always loved her and I always felt safe from her. But Leonard just brought like a different kind of feeling, like a different kind of comfort, a different exposure. And over time,
Wow,
yeah,
I got teary eyed there because
yeah,
it's beautiful to hear it. Yeah, we all miss the guy, but he's definitely not the same person
yeah. Over time, he just slowly
that
got
he
more and
was.
more
But
angry.
Yeah, he's definitely an angry dude. I hope he can come to peace with that, but he's definitely an angry dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Honestly, I
And
think
he's like on paper he shouldn't be.
no.
Well, he should be, but I mean as far as all of us, he's tall and handsome and rugged
He's
and
he
just
only
it's
has that
funny to
red
see
hair.
that someone who you would not paint as an angry dude is an angry dude. What's up?
So I use him and Roy to help navigate kind of who I want to be at times. Like, Leonard used to be my role
Oh
model.
wow.
I used to want to be
That's
just
a
like
good
him,
juxtaposition there.
but I want like similarities between me and Roy, but and then I wanted similarities like me and Leonard, but at the same time, they're not me and they're not who I want to be. They're like on different sides of like the area. Like I want to be like a little bit closer to Roy, but like almost in the middle.
Yeah.
Growing up, like I learned I can have different role models and like
Okay, that's
take
awesome.
attributes of them. And like you too, example, like I want to take your strength, I want to take your adventurous
Yeah.
side. If I do have children someday, I want to take like the role you took as a father as
Oh
well as
wow.
like mixing that with Roy's and like my own experiences.
Oh man, cool. Very cool. Yeah. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so we'll kind of continue here. So do you feel like, I mean, we all struggle with things. What is it that you struggle with the most, would you say?
Currently or back then? Or both?
Currently. Let's go with currently. Yeah.
Currently is getting rid of the like the urge and feeling to need to still mask and like to be around certain people and like something that still gives me like an irk and like a little bit of anxiety is mixing like who I'm with. Like I'm just me. I'm acting myself. It's okay if they see different sides of me. It's okay to be different ways around different people to an extent. They still want to see me. I still want them to see me. Uh, but yeah, just that little bit of fear still lingers. Like, oh, am I gonna be an okay? Are they gonna be a good mix with each other, and am I gonna be able to do that with them? Because like growing up, like I would have thought, like as an example, my mom and her parent never got along with like certain people they loved. Like majority of my mom's friends and Abuelita just could not quite get it right. Like the coexisting and like
Mm-hmm,
they
mm-hmm.
both love them. Like why can't they get along better? And like I know my mom will do that for me, but like just like seeing that for so long still feels like the current norm, even though it's not.
Yeah, I do know when we are together, one thing that I always notice just how much you check in. Like you're always saying, is that the right thing to do, or is my overthinking that, or is that wrong of me? And I always find it curious. My answer usually is the same as just you do you. I hope you do whatever
Yeah.
you got to do, because there's no judgment on this side. If there's an issue, we talk about it for sure. But do you feel like that is part of what you struggle with? Is just that unease in an environment where you're not sure, if we're gonna mend or mesh.
Yes. And it's okay not to mend it. It's okay to mesh at times. It's okay to have those disagreements, but a lot of the time growing up, a lot of those disagreements could go nuclear. And I just want to keep that from happening and keep it,
Mm.
hey, we're having a conversation. It's okay. Like, I want to make sure I'm respecting your boundaries and you're respecting mine. And, like, growing up, there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't enough of others, like, telling me or having people tell them that, like, hey, you're making me uncomfortable. Like, they wouldn't say it to their face. They wouldn't let them know. And if they did, it wouldn't be in a respectful way.
No,
And I want to
no.
make sure, like, it stays in a respectful way
Yeah,
now.
we weren't allowed. Yeah, we would be called. Yeah, I agree 100%. Like growing up, if we ever say, "Hey, that's uncomfortable," we would be called a pussy or "shut the fuck up" or
Yes.
pansy. There's so many things. Um, or we would, or the other party would overreact. So I could imagine this never happened, but if I was like, "Hey, I don't find that comfortable," people are like, "Whoa, somebody's being super sensitive. Don't talk to Luca. He's being super
Yeah.
sensitive right now." And
Yep.
that's not the reaction I was hoping for. Even though this is hypothetical.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
They can definitely go one way or the
Do you
other
feel like
between
you
those.
struggle with this daily?
Uh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say daily. I'd say maybe bi-weekly at times, like maybe once or twice a week. Like I'll
Okay.
we're having a
Is this
conversation with a
something that
friend or
you struggle
something.
with the most, this topic, or what is?
I think it's just
Yeah.
the fear that it's not going to be spoken about enough. That I want to make sure others are comfortable just as comfortable as I am, and it's almost a way of like self-betterment in a way.
Yeah. Right.
and just respecting others' boundaries and making sure like I'm reading all the ones that are there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I do like that outlook quite a bit. Not to throw any of the other family that I have underneath the bus or anything, but the relationship you have or the type of person you are have become, it's I'm very proud of that person. And it's interesting to see, even though we have skeletons in our closet from our family, you have this outlook on life that is very positive and optimistic, and other parts of the family don't. And I'm talking old generations all the way to the youngest generations. They are in peril or are acting as if they're in peril. Where you seem to be, we can work through it, and that's kind of the whole spiel of my philosophy on life. Really, is life's going to rain. Just you'll make it. So it's pretty cool to see you exhibit that type of personality for sure. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that you're actually a big help with that. Just growing up between all of the arguments, all of the clashing, like, oh, they're not talking, or oh, they're feeling this way. Like, it always seemed to end. It always, oh, they're gonna be happy again. Of course, they're just gonna be angry again at some point, but we'll get
Mm-hmm.
past it and enjoy those moments. We'll learn from them. We're not gonna ignore the anger and whatnot,
Yes.
but we'll learn to try and like not let that from happening again. Keep that from happening again.
Okay. Yeah. You're hitting all the right notes for me right now. I'm feeling very engaged right now. So I want to do this mirroring experience or experiment. So growing up, the result of my childhood is I fail to communicate when I'm frustrated, and I tend to frustrate easily. So that's and then it just kind of dominoes from there. Um, so what is it that you struggle with? Do you struggle with anger, and how does that express itself?
At times, I do struggle with anger. The majority of the time, I'll always have anger under the surface. It's making sure it doesn't ravel.
Mm.
But I think a bigger issue I have is the worrying and the overthinking. I am a big overthinker, and something I learned from Roy is that
Yeah,
he is
for
too. Is
sure.
that I need to like find a what's the word? I need to find solutions to like the problem I'm overthinking. Like, but what if this? Okay, then we can do that. But what if the tree falls and it hits the
Mm-hmm.
house? Then we can make sure it cuts this direction. What if like
Mm-hmm.
overthinking and raveling is spiraling just is like the biggest I think the biggest takeaway from like negative from my childhood I think.
Really?
Yeah.
So, real quick, you say you have anger right underneath the skin, like Bruce Banner does. He's always angry.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel?
Yes, honestly the majority of the time I have like I can go from 0 to 100 like that if I need to like
Yeah.
I can subside a lot of emotions but once I get angry and like it starts from there like it's a process to cool down like I'll need to go take a breather I need to stop. But a lot of the times, like during those storms, like I'm not allowed to walk away. I have to keep going. I just need to try and keep an open mind. I don't want to regret this later. I don't want to regret this later. I don't want to regret this later.
I haven't seen you be angry. Is that something that is on purpose, or is it just matter of the draw that you haven't seen? I haven't seen you angry. You've seen me angry, but I haven't seen you angry.
I think it's just like the aura you have around people. Like you make me like subside and calm. Like you make the
Really?
anger in me just flatten out. Like, hey, what do you have angry about? He's right here. Like, talk to him. Like, this can be solved. What's going on? Kind
Oh,
of a thing.
wow.
The
That
people
is
that made
so
me,
interesting to hear. That kind of blows me away because I'm angry. Like uh, I'm just like you. But what's funny is that we are paralleling each other. But when I think of you in my mind, I think of just someone who's this very zen person. And so it's interesting to hear that you also are struggling with anger, and it makes sense. We have generational trauma for sure that we're working through. Um, so my question is, when you exhibit your anger, how does it exhibit itself? Is it physical? Do you punch things? Do you scream? Do you just lock up? Do you
I was
drink? Do you know
I
what I
don't
mean?
drink, fortunately. That's something I'm very grateful for. But I would say I lock up a bit, and like I want to yell, I want to scream, I want to lash out, I want to. Majority of the time, I think whenever I
Wow.
got angry growing up is because I wasn't heard, or like
Sure. Yeah.
I'm
Makes
not
sense.
I'm not responsible for this. Yeah, I'm in the middle of this, so I'm gonna try and end it. And a lot of that anger
Okay.
comes with sadness
Wow.
and make wanting to cry often. I think at times
Why
too.
is that?
So
What's that cycle for you?
so anger always follows to sadness for me. Like if I have a temper, like say a temper tantrum, I'll always have like a cry storm after. And often enough, it's like a struggle to cry. Like my letting my body like cry on its own can be like a struggle. Like having to mask myself so hard. Like nope, you're not gonna cry. You're not gonna cry so much. Like growing up, to where
Hmm.
it's like almost you have to
Is it
focus
because
on
you're
it.
regretting what you've just done, or is it because it's just part of your cycle? You get angry, and then part of the emotional release is to be, finally feel those emotions,
Yes, on both
or
actually.
both.
Yes, on both.
Okay.
Uh, Lots of regret, lots of pondering on like what should I have done, what am I going to do next time, like trying to focus it on energy on what I'm going to do next time, self betterment, making sure I try not to hold it on too much, but not a lot of
Really?
ways to release it often enough. Like exercise, like I've tried that, it doesn't
Sure.
release it
Yeah.
for me.
That makes sense.
Eating only makes it subside for go away for a little bit,
Okay.
etc.
Okay. Uh, Interesting. Oh, I just had a question for you. That's very interesting. Do you feel like you ever done anything you regretted in a state of anger?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What does that look like?
Uh, okay, let me think of an example. Um, I've lashed out at my parents before a bit, like being like, "You never should have had me. What are you doing? This is a mistake.
Oh
Knock
wow.
it off." Like just basically insulting often enough. Like I've wanted, like I think the level above that was growing up. We struggled a little bit, like we were semi comfortable, but at times I wanted to like, I'm gonna ruin
Uh
what
huh.
you really like, so you don't have to, so you can't get it. Like there were moments like that where
Oh wow. Okay.
I've had moments like where I got so close to like going nuclear, but I never have actually.
Wow. Have you ever? You never have. Okay. I was just gonna ask you that. Have you punched things, or is it always just verbal that you feel regret about?
Always verbal. Oh, I have
I gotcha.
hurt Nicholas growing up, but maybe like three of those times was intentional. But the rest was like I threw a snowball at him that was actually ice, or I went like that to him and I actually
Sure.
hurt him. But majority of the
I
time,
gotcha. Okay.
a lot of the regret was accidental.
Okay. I gotcha. Very interesting. Okay. So now to your main thing that you struggle with, which is your anxiety and worrying, right?
Yeah,
Is that something that is so you're saying anger's underneath the skin at all times, but I'm assuming so is this worrying and anxiety.
anxiety's there 18 hours a day, majority of the time, like more often than not there. Always like right there in the chest
And the other
or
6 hours because
just
you're sleeping?
overthinking. Pretty much. And even then, like right when I wake up, like I need to check my phone. What's going on?
Really?
What time is it? Am I late? My alarm went off. Or like right before I go to bed, like hope
Wow.
nobody's gonna be in trouble tonight. I hope if somebody calls tonight and they're in trouble, they can call me, kind of thing.
So you're thinking about this prior to going to sleep.
Yeah.
And then
The
the first thing
worrying
you
is
think
why.
of when you wake up is,
Yes. So a minute ago, you brought up anger leading to
mm,
drinking. Actually, it's majority of the time, it's actually the anxiety and the overthinking that makes me turn to substances. Like since
really?
then, I've tried to only drink socially, like to make sure like I don't overdo it. I did overdo it a few times, like
Yeah.
whenever I'm like just home alone drinking,
Sure.
just to make the anxiety go away. But that's what leads to like substance usage.
Let me ask you this, and I think I know the answer, but you say you it sometimes leads to you drinking to make the anxiety go away. Does that
Yeah,
actually work for you, or is it just kind of a blinder?
absolutely. It makes all the anxiety go away. It feels like I can think clearer. It feels like oh, I can relax. Like I
Wow.
don't need to worry. Like everything just melts away, and I can just focus on something I enjoy.
Interesting. Yeah, I for those of you who don't know, I quit drinking October 23 last year. Actually, I've had a couple not hiccups. I've drank a couple times since then. But I found myself drinking so much, so excessively that my liver values were
Mm,
absurd, and I wasn't dealing with what I was postponing. I just would keep drinking and keep drinking, and you kind of touched on it where you're in this zone where you're not able you're finally free of these thoughts or free of this weight, and so you kind of pursue that safe zone, if you will.
yeah.
And I have the type of personality that does things to the most extreme you can. So it makes sense that I was drinking a box of wine a day or 24 pack. It was just ridiculous. So, um, but it is interesting to hear you say that. You kind of put it in perfect words that you found a safe place, and then I automatically would keep pursuing that safe place. Um,
I was too for a
yeah.
little
So
bit.
how? What was that?
I do too. I was too for a little bit. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. What checked you? What was the thing that caused you to kind of put a break on that?
So, uh, there was so much free time I could have used to been studying. Right now, I'm like working on getting my CDL. I'm working on getting a better education. There were like so many times I would drink on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and just like I could have been doing so much work on that. Like it's okay to relax and have your moments,
Mm.
but I learned like I'm doing this too often. I'm gonna do this socially with other people, so like I can like keep myself in check when I'm with others, kind of, because that's like something I kind of excel at
Interesting. Okay.
times. Like when I get
Very
too
good.
comfortable, that's when I'll like occasionally like slip my mouth a bit and like say something dumb or flub up.
I like that though. I definitely like, yeah, testing the waters. You're testing your life,
Yeah.
um, like a shock. I like to add a little bit of shock sometimes,
Yes.
uh, just to see who you are and where you are and all that, and kind of never let them know your next move type thing. I don't know why, but um, very, very, very interesting. Do you have now? I know you have seen therapy. You've sought therapy in the past. Are you
Yes.
currently seeing a therapist?
Uh, Physical
You are.
therapy,
Oh, fantastic.
but
And
not mental.
it no, no, just oh, I got
I'm
you. I'm
just
sorry.
joking.
Yeah. There's a
Uh,
delay, so
no worries. I'm planning to
yeah. Oh,
soon. I'm one of those people that procrastinates pretty often. I'm gonna do it when I have a bit of a safer space, when I feel a little bit more comfortable. Like nothing wrong with where I'm living now, but
okay.
I think when there's a bit more freedom, I guess. Not to say I'm not free or anything, but
Okay.
I think there's going to be a better place and time for me to heal to where I can do it quicker. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing it slowly,
Okay.
but I want to do it right and I want to get straight to the target when I do it.
Interesting. Interesting. Um okay. Yeah, when you did see a therapist, how was that situation for you and experience? Is that what kind of allowed you to kind of get perspective on your childhood, or was it all helpful
It was all adding up to what
or
I
not
was hoping
helpful?
it wouldn't be. Like I knew I was a little bit traumatized from my
Oh.
childhood at the time. I knew I was. This was during COVID when like both my parents were depressed. COVID just happened. Everything was like down in the dumps.
Mom
But
just passed. Yeah, my mom just passed. Yeah.
prior to that, actually, I think it was a little bit before that. It was during the. It was like during April,
Okay. Okay.
I think. But like I knew what the issues were, and I wasn't in the place or mental state to deal with them. And I could now, but
I got you.
I just don't have the drive to do it right now. So I'm just putting that drive like where I do have it to where it is, I guess, which my education and self betterment.
Yeah. Wow. We're gonna take a twist here.
Sure.
Since I brought up my mom, one thing that kind of took me by surprise was we were talking about my mom passing, and I think we were in your living room, and you had
Hmm.
brought up how much anger you had with my mom, and that blew me away because that was a dynamic of your guys' relationship I was ignorant to, and of course you're gonna have your angers, your issues, your frustrations with anyone in a relationship. Um, but it was interesting to hear you to actually voice it and bring it to my reality. So what was it? what was the most frustrating part about the relationship you had with your grandma?
I think it was all the kindness and patience she had for me, but lacked for you guys, and I blamed a majority of the trauma I had
Hmm.
right now, like during my childhood, on her because if she wouldn't have traumatized my mom wouldn't have been as likely to or inclined to traumatize me. I blamed a lot of my mom's actions on my
Hmm.
Olita, or parents' actions, I guess I should say.
Mm. Which is probably fair, right?
Yeah.
We could get into that, but yeah, it's probably fair.
Uh, because at the time I didn't want to be angry at my mom, so I tried to blame it on somebody else. Because
Oh, I
my
gotcha.
mom's still responsible for her actions, but at the same time, they can definitely be guided by certain aspects. Like generational trauma is going to continue.
Oh, sure.
She's done good at breaking
Yeah,
others,
absolutely.
but there are some that was started and continued if it wasn't for my abuelita. But I think over
Well,
time,
let's
um,
get into the specifics on those.
um so I'm trying to think how to put this. I would say
Like, what was it about your mom that? Yeah, go ahead.
I would say she put a lot of strain towards Roy whenever he was straight on with me. And I think that was just her being overprotective because she
Sure.
says it's because I'm her one and only kid, like biologically. But I think it was,
Hmm.
again, because she wasn't heard when she was little. And then um, something that baffled me, and I don't know if they're related, but so my mom was, I don't know how to put this. I'm going to go out and state it, but my mom was sort of cyberbullied for a bit. And for a time, I was like, where's your
Hmm.
humility? You can be beaten, you can be abused, you can be yelled at by her, by your own mother, by a man she loved, but you can't take this. Like, so I thought maybe Olita wore her down too much, like to where she can't have any defense. And I think I just got
Mm.
angry at both of them for not being able to have their own humility almost, or like just if like a random person tells me it's Eddie, you're gonna die, like just hating on me, I'm not gonna care. Why would they? Like, why can't they have the strength that I have?
Hmm.
And for a bit, I was ignorant to like
Hmm.
we all have our own strengths, we all have our own weaknesses, and I resented both of them because like my Olita is responsible, partially responsible for how my mom is, and my mom's like
Hmm.
responsible for keeping it like that, I guess, for like keeping the lack of
Sure. Yeah, that makes
self-esteem and
sense.
such. Like, look at what you've accomplished. My mom had like a 8% chance of not being a drug addict, of not being homeless, of not being on welfare, like, at being a single mother at 19, and like the first generation
Right.
of American citizens in her own family. Like, look at what you've accomplished. Why are you letting that get to you? Kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, share your sentiment. I'm very proud of your mom. She's awesome. But I can see what you're talking about, and it is interesting to hear your perspective because again, I was ignorant to your side of things for a long time, just the nature of the beast. But speaking of my mom, growing up, I think how she treated you guys, or you, Radley.
Hmm.
I was going to bring Erwin and Graham into this, but really, how she treated you is she finally was able to not have to work and provide. We were living penny to penny back in the day, under a lot of pressure. And for her, I think it was finally a time to actually do what she always wanted to do, and that's why I think her love language was gifts. And I'm not excusing anything. I just kind of make a notation or an observation on what I noticed with you because there is that story I love to tell because it was no joke that she adored you. I mean, you were her
Yes.
baby, and there's that story where you. My mom would just show up unexpectedly at your house. I mean, you were like 3 years old, and she would say, "I'm here to make eggs." And my sister was perplexed, like, "Okay, thanks for showing up, mom." And this went on for a long time, and then finally she caught you in the closet on the phone with my mom, and you were whispering, saying, "Abuela, can you please come make me eggs?" And so the answer to the riddle was showcased that you were calling her saying, "Can you come make me eggs?" And you adored her too. It was a very beautiful relationship.
Yes.
But any relationship's going to have its ups and downs, its ugly and beautiful side, and it is interesting to hear you say that and talk about it. So I appreciate you being so candid about it because we all treat my mom as the queen and matriarch,
Yeah.
that she is. Don't get me wrong, but I think we have a very hard time being critical
Mm.
of her. I'm having a very difficult time even saying that. But she did have her faults, and she did grow as a person. And I do talk about the fact that there was a period of my time where I wasn't allowed to talk to her, or call her mom, or anything like that, or eat her food, and so things were difficult. Of course, the situation was difficult. I can't really. It wasn't her. It wasn't her doing that allowed this situation to happen. She was trying to survive in it, or it wasn't solely her doing, rather. And now, being a father of two stepchildren and two boys of my own, I'm having this whole new like revelation and perspective on things, and I'm seeing just how difficult her job was. So very interesting. Yeah, very interesting for sure. Uh, so you did have anger issues, like we just talked about, with
Yes.
my grandma or with my mom, and with your mom, and it makes sense. You're definitely you're the product of kind of where my mom failed, and where my sister picked up the reins,
Yes.
and that makes total sense. How do you feel now? Are you still angry? Are you still processing those feelings? Have you come to a new perspective?
A little bit of everything. I've come to a new perspective. I do have a little bit of, I do harbor a little anger towards them still, but a lot more understanding because, like, it
Mm-hmm.
was a tougher time for her. People were more hating towards both her kind, her race, her religion, her belief, or like her race and her gender. She had three kids, or
Mm-hmm.
well, two
Is
kids
this
at
my
a
mom
time.
you're talking
Yes,
about?
yes,
Oh yeah, it is. Okay.
yeah. She had a lot of a harder time. Is but she still had the strength to do it, and you can only have so much strength in all areas, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
my mom stepped up harder than she needed to, in a way to where it like made her more tired and a bit shorter with us at times. Like
Mm-hmm.
she insisted on like carrying a lot of the work and a lot of like the money making. Like Roy was just working the hours he needed to where he could like stay with us and like have time to
Mm-hmm.
take care for all of us. But while my mom was just consistently working doubles, consistently working early nights, late morning, or
Triples.
yes, when like Roy would have been more than happy to have doubled like the weekends and stuff. And I think my mom
Yeah,
insisting and stuff like kind of drew her short in ways that led to the anger I have with her.
absolutely. To a fault.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, for sure. I will say, to know a little bit about my sister, so when she was pregnant with you, she obviously got a lot of backlash from my mom, a lot, and
Mhm.
was not getting the support, the emotional support. She got a lot of support from my mom. Of course, my mom threatened to abandon her and whatever, but she never would, right? Or at least she didn't. We'll say that. And I'm sure my sister felt like she was like on a razor's edge between losing her mom and keeping you and trying to navigate that, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And then she was when Jason left her just high and dry, she was a solo mom for so long, a single mom, that I think she just built these bad habits, kind of outlined by my mom critically, always being critical of her, saying, you're not doing it right. You need to work more. You need to support her. You can't have anyone come in your life because look what happens. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how she veered, way off to the right, and then now she's starting to come back. Well, she to be honest, she veered way left too, and went a little crazy there. And then now she's starting to finding her place in what she would call the middle of the road. And of course, during this navigation in life, you are going to create issues. And it reiterates the fact that communication is so important. And it's beautiful to see you and your mom and Roy have this communication. It's mind blowing to me to see that your mom is as open and communicative as she is, because she's been this person far longer than she was otherwise. But growing up, she was always what she would classify herself as the ghetto bitch, right? Like her first words out of her mouth is, "Don't disrespect me. I pay my bills."
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, she's just handing you a receipt. Just take the
Huh.
receipt, right? And we used to always joke about that. Hi.
Sorry.
No, no,
Shit.
don't be. I love it. We used to always joke though, like, "Oh my gosh, Odili's gonna get in a fight again." and I was the same way, but it was just funny to make fun of her. But yeah, so when you guys came out to visit this past year, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see you guys. What growing up would call being white, like you guys
Yes.
just talked, let your feelings out, and all
Yeah.
this other stuff. Yeah,
We had moments of our
how's
brown,
that
don't
been?
worry. But it's been good. There are still patches of being brown. There are still
Yeah.
continuations of our traditions, I guess. We do uh, argue a little bit more roughly sometimes from time to time, but that's been fortunately more rare and
Mhm.
rare as I think they just matured. Like at times, it feels like we grew up with each other. My mom has said, like, because she was so young as well as I was, and like we got to experience so many different things with one another as well as like
Yeah.
parenthood at a young age. Because like they had the energy, they had the bodies, they had like everything they needed,
Yeah.
so we can
Right.
go like biking, we can go hiking. Like if they were this age and I was like a 12-year-old, we wouldn't have been able to do as many like activities we did back then.
Oh man, what a weird thing. Yeah, I think if we were to take that scenario and run with it, my sister would have been a lot more even keeled, but then your childhood wouldn't have been as adventurous.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes.
So it's interesting to kind of think of that. Oh
Uh,
wow.
I'm glad with the timing though. Like over time, I used to like hate the situation we were in. Like I wish she knew she had me before she was 6 months and stuff. But now I think that this is a good spot to
Hmm.
be in. Like we made it past like all the big storms and like finally here at adulthood, and it's just been easier. We can experience a lot of things together still.
Right. Real quick, I just want to add that while we ignorantly called it being white and being brown, that we don't talk about it that way
Not
anymore. We
really.
obviously every family, whatever color, argues to the extent that everyone else does. I just That's just how we talked growing up. Like when we saw families hugging, or I think Dave Chappelle has that bit where he's like a white father sits down with his troublesome kids, like Dakota, you're in timeout. Where we just got a fucking crack to the back of the head, and la tuya. So
Mhm.
anyway, pretty interesting, pretty ignorant, but still pretty interesting. Yeah, this has been a very good conversation for me to hear your perspective on things. I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there something that you wish you could do for a family, and what is it? What's that one thing you wish you could do for us?
Hmm. Visit more. I would love to be more present in my cousin's
Oh wow,
lives.
very cool. Oh, hands down. Yeah, I would love to be more present in my family. This is very special for me to have this conversation with you because of that. I saw you in November, and it was amazing. That was it was awesome. I loved every second of it. So, yeah, anyway, I agree with that. The reason I ask is because I ask a lot of people this, and a lot of them will say, like, oh, if I could win the lottery, like my dad said that growing up, imagine if I could win the lottery, what we could do. But really, it's not money, it's time and memories.
Depending on the love language, I do believe that money can buy happiness if that's like the right people. Like,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think time is definitely better
It
than
gives you the
winning the lottery.
opportunities and
Yeah, bonding and whatnot. But
yeah, hands down. And I will be doing a Mother's Day special talking about mom, or tu abuela, which is going to be a very difficult
I'm sure.
episode. But the reason I bring that up is because she died saying her biggest regret was that she wished she had more memories than money. And our whole life was money. We lived penny to penny, and she worked
Yeah.
two jobs most of my life. And she always regretted the fact that she just wished she had more memories. And I agree 100% with that. One of the things that kind of blew me away is before she passed, there was, she'd gotten out of the hospital and she had gone back to New Mexico, and we were talking about getting a family photo. That was
Hmm.
the plan, and, it didn't come to fruition. But without getting too much into it, when I got to her house, she had found out that pomegranates were the boys' favorite. She had a drawer full of pomegranates waiting for them to show off to them when they got there. So that was very heartbreaking. But yeah, those words will always remain in my brain, that she always regretted she wants more memories rather than money, and that's 100% true. I think so anyway.
Something I was lucky on is
Um,
before she left here, we actually I brought it up with her every so often because she would bring it up with me like, I like that. So you do pass. What do you want me to do for your kids? Don't worry about me. What do you want me to do? And I was lucky to have like a conversation like that like 2 weeks prior to when she passed in person, and like
wow.
she
What did
was
she say, if you don't mind?
she was worried about a few of you guys. I told him, don't worry about Luke. He's gone through so much. He'll be fine. I'm a little bit worried about the uh, mom's gonna spiral for a bit, and I know she'll be okay. Leonard, he's the wild card in my opinion.
Yeah.
He was, and I was telling her like, don't worry about me. And I did bring up the will, and I was like, if there is a will, don't give many people the stuff. Give it to Luke and Thea. Thea's the one who funded majority of this. Give this to them, and
Mm.
Luke could use it on his kids. Mom, we're fine. Leonard, he's got the house. He's okay. And I was like, trying to make sure
Hmm.
I had my Thea's back, because like, and your back too, respectively. But I just thought majority of that should go back to Thea,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
and
Sure. Yeah,
like
absolutely. Yeah.
a
Theo
majority
definitely. I
of the
mean, yes, he
attention should be for
definitely.
Thea. Yeah, I know it's more
Yeah. I mean, it's funny.
stress reminders
It's
on her, but
amazing. Okay, sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
More stress on what?
On Thea, like I knew Thea wouldn't be able to handle it well, but she handled it a lot better than I thought she would. At least this passing, I mean.
Yeah, she's still here. I guess that's that's a positive. I will say that I know your mom and I are very grateful toward Yessie because she was able to provide my mom with what we always wanted to give our mom her whole life, but what she was finally able to give her during the last few years was, opportunity. She saw the ocean. She got a house. She got a car. She
A
didn't really have
retirement.
to work. She didn't have to. Yeah, she actually was able to retire. I mean, even my mom's dad died working. I mean, abuelo, was
Fun story about
just
him.
not in a position.
So the last few years, my abuelita, like last year, he was my abuelita, my great grandpa was taken care of by abuelita. He snuck out twice and got hit by cars on different occasions, but still walked it off. His last few weeks, he was still pulling grass thinking there were
After his
weeds.
60s.
He was in his 90s. He was in his late
Yeah,
90s.
it's yeah. I
Built
just mean he
different.
got hit by two cars after his 60s. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't a young guy. He
Not at
was
all.
he was an older gentleman. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's pretty nuts. And let's be clear here. He did not necessarily raise my mom, but what's touching is that my mom helped him in his last period of his life here. She took care of him and everything. So very, very humble woman. Very interesting to see. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So what? So you have grown up in a situation where family can mean a lot of different things. Friends can be family. Certain family isn't family if you're going by blood. So
Mhm.
what does family mean to you in this stage of your life?
The people you can trust, the people you can, and I don't mean just trust with a secret, but like trust to show everything to. Like you can tell them anything, you can show them anything, you can rely on them, and they can rely on you. Like the communication, the trust, the bond that like you just can't have with anyone else. And it isn't just blood. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what is that? Does it keep sliding down?
Yeah, it just keeps sliding down. But I
That's so
think
funny. I will say, yeah, your mom has done a very good job at exposing you to great people. I mean, they're not
yeah,
blood, but that's never meant anything really to us. If you're family, you're family. But
yes.
she's got some amazing people in your guys' social circle. It's just incredible people. Incredible people. Yeah.
My mom's definitely had to work on that. So she's had like a group of friends since I was like in sixth grade. Like I've seen a lot of them come and go, but I think the current friend group is like the best she's had. Josefa and Stephanie, her best friends, are like definitely some
Josefa,
of the
yeah.
best of her best friends I've had. Like I love hanging out with them. I'm glad I'm like at the age I am now to be able to like have the maturity to see them and get to know them and stuff and have different experiences with them. Like when I was little, I thought
Absolutely.
majority of her friends, yeah, they're cool, whatever. Oh, they have a kid, sweet. But now it's like I'm an adult and I can see you as an adult too.
Right, yeah. And you're being treated as an adult too.
And that's so weird. Yeah,
That is weird. Yeah, I still call you babe and baby. I don't know if that's
wouldn't have it
getting
any
to the
other
point
way.
where it's disrespectful, or I'm not sure. But what's up?
Wouldn't have it any other way. You're my deal. You're my
Oh,
parent.
awesome. Okay, good. Right on. Yeah, yeah. You're always gonna be my baby. Like I don't know. It is what it is.
Honestly,
It's funny
nowadays,
because I'll be. Go ahead.
like if like somebody texts me by my first name, I'm like, oh, something wrong. Like if my mom texts me like, Eric, can you come
Oh, I
pick me
see.
up? Like the other day, she asked Eric, can you come pick me up? I was like, yes. Where are you? What's going on? Like I got there like right away. I kind of sped a bit,
Yeah,
like thinking like, what's wrong? Like nothing. I was just picking up some stuff.
yeah.
Like, oh, don't do that to
Because
me.
what does she normally call you?
Usually Sweet Pea or Mijo.
Sweet pea. Oh, I love that. Sweet pea. Yeah, yeah. One thing we definitely got from our mom is the
Pet names.
terms of endearment for sure.
Yeah.
Pet names. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Man, it's been great talking to you. I hope this isn't our last
I would.
episode together.
Yeah,
This has
I'd
been
love
really
to do
good.
this again.
How do you feel about it?
Very comfortable. I can't believe it's already been over like an hour and 20. It feels like it's been 10 minutes. This is going by
Yeah,
so fast. So much fun.
yeah, exactly.
It's nice to hang out.
So I asked you if you could come up with a gray matters question or matters of the gray. Did you come up with a question?
Yes, and actually, I guess I kind of answered it by accident a minute ago. My question was, depending on love
That's all right.
language, can money buy happiness?
Oh, interesting. Depending on love language. Okay.
Like, depending on
And
their
go ahead
personality and
and
whatnot.
elaborate on that.
I thought it could because ever since Thea's gotten comfortable, she's given so many love languages. She's given so much of that. But at the same time, it kind of, depending on who she's paying for. Like, my mom is very protective of over her. And, like, if
Hmm.
we're like a friend of groups that are like not very close friends and she like, my Thea will pay, like, my mom would be a little bit upset. Like, why'd you do that? Don't. Like, they can pay for themselves. They're fine.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, and even I've started to become like that. Like for a while, I was like, "This is her love language. She wants to show us love. I'm just gonna accept it." But as of late, it's been starting to feel a bit heavy. So I think like just depending on the right people, the right
Okay.
relationships, and communication, that for the right people, money can buy happiness. Like that would have given Aulita more time with you guys, and potentially
Yeah.
like more time to
Yeah.
grow.
It for sure. I definitely think love. I mean, money can buy opportunities that you may not have exposure to, and then those opportunities can definitely give you the ability to create memories, or therapy can definitely be therapeutic, obviously. So yeah, I do think money can has the potential to buy you happiness, and I agree 100% with you. It's money in itself isn't what's going to give you happiness. It's what you do with it. And so I definitely think if we had more time and more memories, and like one of my greatest memories with you was free, right? We went fishing for your first
That was
time,
so
and
much
that was
fun.
incredible. Like it was beautiful.
I remember
Yeah, and
still
we'll remember that forever, right?
forever. I still remember
Yeah.
breaking my first fishing pole for it.
And hey, that was so. I mean, we caught. I don't know. I remember how many fish we caught, white bass, but it was
It was like 7 or 8.
awesome. I
Yeah,
yeah cherish that memory quite a bit.
same.
Yeah, it was a lot. So yeah, it was amazing, and not well. That wasn't necessarily free. Obviously, there was money put into the to the polls and whatnot. Um, what little bit of money went in there, it obviously provided us with opportunities to create the memories. Like I guess is my whole point. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that's a very good question. I don't think the pursuit of money is what's going to make you happy, and I think that's what my mom was talking about with Leonard. I think he's what she called money sick, and he's only thinking about his next dollar. And that's the unfortunate part is I think he's lost himself inside that pursuit. Um, what do you think about that?
Honestly, I think the same. And for a little bit, I was actually like that too, like thinking, okay, I need to make money, need to make money. I want to make sure I'm comfortable. I want to make sure. But at this point, I just want to make sure I make enough to where I can just live and experience like just life. I just want to pay for my home, my utilities, etc.
Yeah,
I'm cool.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Um, Before we finish, do you have what are your wishes for our family, each person?
Ooh. I hope Thea continues the
Your
growth
mom and
she's had.
Roy.
I see Roy and Mom being together forever. Mom's definitely still growing, and I see that continuing. Um, I'm just so excited, and I
Yeah.
hope the boys live long, cherished lives and get their good education. And I'm excited for hopefully when you get to move back, or even if you move somewhere else, I can come visit still.
Yeah.
Just more time with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yep, that's really what I want. I definitely agree with you. I think I do hope that Leonard finds whatever it is that he's looking for and he's able to stabilize.
Yeah.
My sister, Aditya Nicole, I hope
Mm.
she finds peace. She's
I hope
still
she's
out
okay.
there. I'm not sure. Yeah,
I remember you
that's a
introducing me
difficult
to her
one.
once.
That's the sad part is that she's family, and yeah, she's not. So interesting there. Yeah, your mom and Roy. I just can't say enough good things about them. Roy is. I want to be you when I grow up, Roy. Um, yeah, and you. I hope you the best, man. You're right in the best part of your life, and I hope you get so many experiences, and hope this relationship is long and prosperous, whether it ends romantically or continues, whatever the case is. I just hope it's a positive thing for you guys. And yeah, and then Yessie and Diana. God, I can't say enough good things about Yessie, but
Yeah.
hopefully she finds peace too, because I know she's trying to find it. And,
I'm hoping this
yeah.
continues.
But I love you, babe. Yeah, same. I can't say enough good things about you. I'm so proud of you. I think you're an incredible young man, and you're still a gentleman and a scholar, sir.
I love you, Thea, and I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for you as well. You're my first healthy father
Don't
figure.
get teary on me now. Just kidding.
I love you so much,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for having
I
me. I hope we
appreciate
do this
you
again.
very much. Hey, I love you too so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to check out the show notes. As always, let's give them something to smile about, and we'll see you guys next week.